Amanda from the Hinman Holistic Health Institute, and today I'm going to be talking to you about habits and how your habits can have a huge impact on your child's health and really move them in a direction to improve their health, to reduce anxiety, to eliminate ADD and ADHD symptoms, to even overcome things like allergies and seizures. And I know that seems like a far cry, right, from your habits. Let's see if we can break this down and kind of make this chain for you. Well, in the book, The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg, he talks a lot about what are habits? What are habits and why do we use them so continuously? And really, every single one of us uses habits in our lives constantly, whether we're aware of it or not. One simple example is brushing your teeth, right? You wake up, you put the toothpaste on, you brush your teeth, and you don't even think twice about it. You can probably do it in your sleep. It becomes so natural, so automatic, and that right there is exactly what the power of habit is all about. When you can go through a repeated sequence, have some kind of trigger, and then do some type of sequence, whether it be physical movement or physical experience or even an emotional thought process in your sequence, that ends up in a potential reward. So in using the example of brushing your teeth, the trigger may be you wake up in the morning and you have a yucky taste in your mouth and you're like, oh, you just automatically put the toothpaste on, brush your teeth. The reward is you have a fresh, minty mouth, right? That's very relatable. We all understand that. And what is the benefit of having those habits? Well, the reason your brain is constantly creating habit patterns and making new habits is because it conserves energy. You don't have to think about it as much. You don't have to focus on putting the toothpaste on. Okay, now I bring the brush to my mouth and I move up and down. It just happens. So this is your brain's way of becoming efficient, if you will. And it's constantly looking for ways to become efficient so it can use its energy for more growing and learning and developing. So throughout your whole entire life, from infancy through adulthood and retirement, your brain will be constantly looking and searching for new habits. So now that you have this awareness that your brain is always making new habits and always plugging into new patterns, you can start to choose what habits are going to be helpful for you. And there really are these things called cornerstone habits that this book talks about, and that is when you can do one simple small step and make that a pattern that becomes a habit, it becomes automatic, something that just naturally occurs as a part of your day or part of your routine, and that ultimately snowballs into much greater and bigger things with a much bigger impact. And I'm going to give you an example. He talks about Michael Phelps. We all know Michael Phelps, especially after the Olympics, how freaking awesome he is. I love watching him. And one of his habits that he started at a really young age, his coach was brilliant. He knew the power of mindset and having a strong mental ability would be for Michael as he continued to progress throughout his career. So he wanted him to focus on what he called the movie. He said, Michael, put in the movie every single morning and every single night before you go to bed and as soon as you wake up, put in the movie. Close your eyes and imagine yourself swimming the perfect race. Imagine every single stroke. Imagine exactly that black line down the middle of the pool, the walls of the pool, the lane lines, where your goggles are, everything. And he pictured that movie as if he was watching a real movie, and he did that for years and years and years, every single day of his life. So what he did is he essentially created a habit where his brain recognized the perfect race and him winning, throwing off his cap and goggles over and over and over and over. So guess what? When your brain does something repeatedly and consistently, it starts to become automatic. It just happens. Your brain doesn't even have to think about it because it just happens. And that's how he has been so successful at winning races and literally breaking so many world records, achieving so many gold medals, more than any Olympic athlete in history. And it all starts, obviously a lot of other pieces, but it starts with this foundation of a habit. And it builds from there. He then created a habit of a routine of setting up his whole 3-hour stretch before every single race of successes and creating a pattern that he would just continue to apply over and over and over. Another example of the power of habits that they talk about in this book is from a guy named Paula O'Neill, who years back became the CEO of Alcoa, which is a large aluminum manufacturing company. And at the time that he was elected as CEO or hired as CEO, he came in for his first meeting in front of all the board of directors and shareholders and said, my number one objective is to make this the safest company on the planet. And they're all looking at him going, Wait, what? What did he just say? Is this guy crazy? We're worried about profits and margins and cutting costs and reducing, overhead, all of that stuff. And he's talking about safety. They were already below the national safety record for days of missed work because of employee accidents. And yet, he used that to become their cornerstone habit, their focus. And through that process, it was able to compound into so much more growth and efficiency for the company. They were able to have streamlined systems, complete monitoring of any recording of anything that happened with an employee accident or injury had to be immediately reported. So all of these things started to compound, and essentially in a short time they quadrupled their profits as an organization globally because of this focus on this one small cornerstone habit. So my reason for sharing this with you is that what we have found, not only with our own health journey, with our family, but over and over and over again, there is something that is every single time a direct correlation for our clients' success in helping to improve their child's health. And that is when parents can start to create a cornerstone habit for their own self-care. And I'm going to say that again because I know that's a little like, wait, what? I mean, it's logical, yet it's so hard to do. And the reason is because when parents can create a habit for something they do every single day that just becomes automatic, there's no guilt, there's no extra energy involved, it doesn't have to be a big process, it's just automatic to do something to take care of themselves on a regular, consistent basis, then guess what? They show up in their life as a different person for their child. They show up with more patience. They show up with more awareness and confidence. They also show up with, it's like that compounding effect. If you are taking care of yourself on a consistent basis and doing something simple, let's say your first self-care habit that you want to create is to journal for 5 minutes every morning. That could be an idea. That's just something to start. Maybe someone else says, you know what, no, journaling is not for me. I'm going to start with allowing myself 10 minutes in the afternoon to plop my feet up on the couch and read a book. Whatever it is, whatever resonates with you. If you do that, all of a sudden it starts to shift about other ways that you want to take care of yourself because you see the benefit. And when you start to maybe change the way that you eat, cut down on the number of sodas you drink in a day, or add in more water, and when you start to build these habits into your life, you are the ultimate role model for your child. All of a sudden you're talking about things and you're looking at things from a different perspective, and that transfers to your kids always, every single time, 100% of the time. Believe it or not, parents are the largest influences in their kids' lives. And again, that cornerstone habit that I want to encourage you to think about today is creating some type of self-care for you. And I know that when we're kind of in an overwhelmed, stressful, busy life, a lot of times, especially if we have, like when my daughter was having seizures, I was not thinking about doing self-care for me. I was thinking about her first and foremost. And yet what I'm here to tell you is that things started to dramatically turn around when I finally got desperate and had to take care of myself because I didn't have another option. I was mentally, physically, completely exhausted, so I had to take care of myself. And it wasn't until I got to that brink of being forced to that then things shifted for our whole family. And I'm going to tell you that because hopefully you can do it before you get to the edge. Hopefully you can have that anticipation of saying, hey, you know what? That's totally logical. If I am in a better mood, if I am more patient, if I am more energized, if I do feel more confident, I know that that's going to have a positive impact on my kids. I know that they're going to feel better about who they are when I feel better about who I am. And that all starts with self-care. So I guess the long and the short of it is, what cornerstone habit of self-care can you start for yourself today? Maybe it's something simple. Start off with 5 minutes or 10 minutes a day. Make it short. Maybe it's just simply turning off social media before you go to bed. There's something about kind of that getting caught up in compare and contrast and all that that sometimes can just drain us and step us outside of living our own lives and really paying attention to what's going on in other people's lives. So maybe it's just like cutting the social media before bed, or instead of first thing in the morning waking up and checking email and all of a sudden plugging into what someone else has on their agenda, you're going to tune into yourself and you're going to give yourself a couple minutes to read the paper or journal or do some stretches. Whatever it is, find something that resonates with you and try and create a cornerstone habit of self-care. And I'm going to tell you, it's going to have a snowball compounding effect and how it will impact your whole entire family. So that's it for today. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks.